Here are the top 10 war crimes committed by the United States, presented by Max, Andrew, Jackson, and Mason.
Number 1. The Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. The United States President Harry Truman ordered the bombings during World War II against Japan. The two bombs they dropped were Little Boy and Fat Man, one on August 6th and one on August 9th in the year 1945. This led to Japan surrendering and ending World War II. The bombings killed over 100,000 people immediately and led to long-term radiation effects. This is considered a war crime because of the mass civilian death.
Number 2. The American bombing of Laos and Cambodia. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. conducted extensive bombing campaigns in Laos and Cambodia to disrupt North Vietnamese supply lines along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The operations caused massive civilian casualties while achieving limited strategic success. The lasting consequences were severe, with Laos remaining one of the most heavily bombed countries per capita in history, and the destabilization of Cambodia enabling the Khmer Rouge to seize power, causing further mass death. The campaigns are widely considered war crimes due to their deliberate targeting of civilian infrastructure.
Number 3. Operation Condor. This was put on by the CIA and Reagan administration, targeting rebel movements in Central America. At its peak in the 1980s, the United States coordinated kidnapping, torture, and assassinations of left-wing activists. This led to tens of thousands of deaths and widespread human rights abuse, and long-term fear and political repression in South America. This is considered a war crime because of the intentional targeting of civilians.
Welcome back to Mason's Cooking Channel, and today I'll be teaching you how to make napalm at home with only 2 ingredients. Napalm was one of the 2 main agents used in Operation Rolling Thunder during the Vietnam War. Rolling Thunder was the code name for the extensive bombing of North Vietnam, which led to thousands of civilian casualties and had no real influence on ending the war. In order to make napalm, dissolve any styrofoam into gasoline. Mix the substance until the styrofoam dissolves into a sticky, paste-like substance. You now have made napalm. Disclaimer, do not use in any destructive way as it is a federal crime.
Number 5. The Philippine-American War. From February 1899 to July 1902, the United States entered a war to colonize the newly acquired lands of the Philippines. In an attempt to crush Filipino guerrilla fighters, the United States committed many war crimes through acts of total war. The United States military burnt down everything in their paths, including entire villages, and forced civilians into camps and tortured them to get more information, leading to the deaths of over 1 million Filipino civilians. These horrific war crimes were not without punishment. Many American officers in charge of giving commands to burn all buildings were court-martialed, but none served any significant time for their crimes. This lenience for war crimes set the stage for many future U.S. wars and ultimately delayed Filipino independence for another half-century.
The My Lai Massacre. During the Vietnam War, American soldiers, due to multiple factors like paranoia and insufficient leadership, carried out a brutal massacre of innocent Vietnamese villagers. It is estimated between 350 to 500 civilians were murdered.
Number 7. The No Gun Ri Massacre. In the Korean War in 1950, United States troops who were patrolling in the interior of South Korea happened upon a group of refugees taking shelter under a bridge. Not knowing if these were North or South Koreans, the U.S. troops opened fire, taking the lives of over 400 refugees. This placed a huge strain on South Korea-U.S. relations and demonstrated a blatant disregard for human well-being by the U.S. High Command, sparking grievous international condemnation of the acts and being remembered today as one of the worst war crimes committed by the United States.
Number 8. Abu Ghraib. In 2003, U.S. media sources discovered the inhumane treatment of prisoners in war inside Abu Ghraib prison. When questioned about the practices in the prison, the U.S. government claimed these were isolated incidents carried out by rogue military personnel. However, this was not true. U.S. military personnel violated clear laws established by the Geneva Convention across an array of prisons in Iraq. Many Iraqi civilians were taken to U.S. military prisons, tortured, tied down to chairs, both mentally and physically abused, and were forced into extreme isolation for many days. All of this supported as enhanced interrogation techniques by the U.S. government. As public, they were outraged and spurred an interrogation and later eviction of 11 U.S. soldiers involved in these events on many counts of humanitarian law violations.
Number 9. The U.S. Invasion of Grenada. In 1983, the United States conducted Operation Urgent Fury, a largely amphibious and aerial invasion of Grenada to depose the ruling communist government, primarily meant to counter growing Soviet influence in the Western Hemisphere. In this invasion, however, U.S. forces ended up murdering 24 civilians, 18 of whom were mistakenly bombed in a mental hospital, with many others being unlawfully detained by the U.S. Army. This saw the United States come under international scrutiny, especially from humanitarian organizations, and the incident remains one of the more recent instances of the United States committing war crimes against civilians during wartime.
Guantanamo Bay is a detainment camp in Cuba, currently leased by the United States. The base is used to house high-priority threats against the United States, mainly terrorists connected to the September 11th attacks. The base became the target of many torture scandals and inhumane policies. During the operation of the camp, to date, 9 inmates have died.